Hi, this is Yaron Betan, and I'm here on True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book creators and supporters. It's August 14th, 2020. I'm John Swinimer. If you have a comment, criticism, or question, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with Yaron Betan from Heroes Manufactured Creators Unleashed. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Yaron is the founder and executive director of White Knight Studios that helped indie filmmakers and first-time movie makers. Aside from producing, he teaches at the Picture Perfect Film School in Toronto, Canada. Yaron is also the founder, director, and executive producer of Heroes Manufactured Creators Unleashed, the TV show now streaming on Amazon Prime. So, without further ado, here's my chat with Yaron Betan about Heroes Manufactured Creators Unleashed. So, Yaron Betan, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show. It's great to be here.
I appreciate your time. What I usually do to start off the conversation is ask the creator about their first comic books. I'm wondering if you remember, what was the first comic book that you read?
Oh, for me it was definitely, and I still have the copy, Wolverine #1 from 1989. So
wow.
It was that one where he's standing on top of the bodies. He's got his claws out. He's just ready to kill. So I mean that's been the first book I've ever owned, first book I ever read, and I still have that copy today. I actually met Stan Lee a few years back and got him.
Wow.
Got it graded and it came back as a 9.8 as well, so which was amazing.
Nice.
I kept it in pristine condition, I guess, since I was a kid.
Very good. Well, you've got a lot of titles. I tell you, you're the founder and director and executive producer of Heroes Manufactured, and you did the movie back in 2016. I remember that.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how that came to be, because that's a memorable movie for sure.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much there with that. And so I mean, even prior to the movie, I've always been. I actually came from a very cinematic background, film, TV. Was always my thing. I went to film school, but I actually went to an art school. I went to OCAD and studied integrated media there. It was part of their film program under that program. So always had a fascination to it. Once I left OCAD, I actually started my own business in film and television for about 5 years in downtown Toronto. So same company name, White Knight Studios, but I also ran a film festival and got to meet a lot of unique people, rented out equipment. So it was interesting how that story kind of allowed me to get into the film that I wanted to, because the film kind of came later in my career. With Heroes Manufactured, that was just part of my passion. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I always liked to draw, and I was always into comics. I had my own collection as a kid. So I kind of came up with the idea of never been to I mean, prior to 2016, it was the 1 year before 2015 where I actually attended my first comic book convention.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of unique that within 1 year I decided to shoot a documentary, but yeah.
It must have been very inspiring for you then.
Oh, for sure. And I kind of understood the scene very quickly, only because the film world has a very similar scene with regards to the film market. And I attended many of those kind of expos and a lot of the different film markets in the U.S. I used to go out to the American film market down in Santa Monica. So has a very similar feel, except there's the only difference is instead of having booths at different corners of a convention center, they take over pretty much a hotel and every room becomes a production company. So
right, yeah.
Which is really cool. I mean, if you ever go to the Lowe's Hotel in like November of the year, it's very similar to a comic book convention, but in a hotel with movie production companies. So it feels very much the same. And once I saw what a convention was, it felt like I had to document this. I had to tell the story of these artists trying to break in. Very similar and very parallel to the way that film producers and film directors try and break in. So I definitely saw the parallels there and wanted to tell that story from kind of an artistic perspective versus a production perspective. But yeah.
Yeah. And that story hasn't ended. You're still continuing with it. I understand you've got this new series called Heroes Manufactured Creators Unleashed. I wonder if you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so that is the new series. So I mean, it's almost a spin-off from the first film. I mean, the first film was essentially, it had more of a reality flair to it, where we followed a bunch of characters, and then we also had a moment with Stan Lee, which was nice. This show, which is very different from that, it doesn't really follow characters. It doesn't follow the reality as much. It does on some degree, but it's more so a showcase of just unique artists, mostly independent artists from across Canada and the U.S. And we really try and understand kind of their techniques, their motivations. So there's an underlying story to each of these characters, but I would say it's definitely more of like a showcase, a variety show of really figuring out who these artists are, what they're creating, and how unique they are. So it's really a show about the creators out there and pushing them out there. So I mean, we have about 7 different cities that we kind of tackled in there, and quite unique in that sense. But yeah, that's what we did with Heroes Manufactured Creators Unleashed. And there's definitely more to it. It's on Amazon Prime now, Prime Video. So that's a really unique avenue for us to explore. We've been doing it since the first film as well. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun ride so far.
Cool. Now, I know it would take, I'd like to hear about every single person who's on that show, but we only have a short amount of time for our interview. But I'm wondering if you could highlight maybe as just a handful that you can talk about who you profile on your show.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm even trying to think. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. There's a Canadian artist, and I'm horrible with names, so
no worries.
You might even know. I mean, he's a creator of Neon Black, which I think that's in our first episode. So I mean, he's got a great little story there about villains and heroes and villains having kids that become heroes. So I mean, we kind of touch on unique stories like that. There's a bunch of celebrities that we also have in there that we interview as inspirational pieces. We interview the Adams family, the Neil Adams family. So that was kind of a unique experience.
Sure.
But also Todd McFarlane,
Right.
J. Scott Campbell, Mike Mignola from Hellboy.
Cool.
So I mean, a lot of really cool names pop up in between a lot of the indie artists, and we have a handful of really unique artists. I mean, in our first film, we kind of touched on Andrew Thomas from Chapter House.
Right.
A character, a lot of people like that are into illustration, but not just necessarily comic book illustration. It's also, we do have creators. There's a lady by the name of Kaz LaFava, and she had a book named Nemesis, and it's just a unique novel that touches on what happens. It's a very post-apocalyptic book that she wrote, and she wrote about 3 different books, selling it at multiple bookstores across Canada and now in the U.S. So, I mean, just unique stories like that we kind of highlight in the film. And like I said, there's about 7 different cities that we touched on. So we were in Toronto, we did Niagara Falls, we did Detroit, we did what else? Miami, New York City, San Diego. So I mean,
wow,
nice handful, and Hamilton. Nice to have because it's Hamilton, Ontario, right? So
cool. Now, I mean, you've been to a lot of different conventions, both on both sides of the border. I'm wondering, have you seen a difference when you experience one versus the other, Canada versus the U.S., or is it pretty much the same?
Definitely different. And it's funny because I it's the one question I probably ask in my documentary and in my show quite often. Just to get that different perspective, but there really is a difference. I mean, anyone who says otherwise, if you ask me, it's nonsense because it's like every show is different, and I find that if literally you go up north, or if from Toronto, you'll see a different show, and it's a different feel, and it's a different crowd. When I look at, let's say, Toronto versus Florida, I mean, Florida's definitely got a laid back scene, but you can hear like the pumping house music in the background, whereas in Toronto, I mean, you can have a mix of different feels of people like cosplayers dancing and whatnot. So it's culturally it's different. Yet there are some similarities as well. Obviously, there's people that dress up in certain ways, people that showcase different and more unique art pieces. So yeah, it's that's one thing, and then the fact that the venue and the location of it is another thing, right? So when you come down to Florida, you see the palm trees. When you go to New York City, it's all about you're at the Javits Center, which is right by not too far from Times Square, and there's crowds of people coming in and out. And even New York and San Diego, they're both compared a lot. They're very different, both equally, I would say, as big, just in very different ways. So yeah, they're quite unique in terms of the conventions and how they manage themselves. So for sure, different.
Yeah, it's one extreme to the other. We were going to so many conventions last year, and you've documented them, and here we are now without any conventions. So I'm wondering, what do you miss most about convention life that we're here in this pandemic?
Definitely. I mean, the ability to meet people, talk to them, socialize. It's a huge thing. Just to be able to literally, you can't even really walk into a lot of comic book shops right now. I know, obviously they're open, they're opening up now, and a lot of them have been open for the last couple of months. But just to be able to see something new and fresh and unique, and to experience, people walking into you and with their awesome costumes, and being able to meet a celebrity, meet someone that you've been wanting to meet for a while. I mean, those are the types of things I definitely miss, and just enjoying the art, going around from table to table and in Artist Alley, and viewing the unique art, the unique illustrations that people are putting out there. I mean, I think that's definitely something I miss for sure.
Sure. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering, how do you think this lockdown has changed and will continue to change the industry as we move forward and perhaps move out of it in the not too distant future?
No, I think it's a great question. I mean, I think it's going to change in a few different ways. I think, I mean, my wife's actually a healthcare worker, but she works from home right now, so she kind of gives me certain insight. It is a new norm for a certain period of time. I very much am hopeful and optimistic that we are going to get out of this. Life will go back to normal the way that it was. It's just it is something that could be for the next year, maybe 2 years, maybe even a little longer. The more we are protecting ourselves now, the better it is in the long run. So, I mean, if you can obviously stay at home right now, it sucks, but if the more you can, you can manage under this kind of lockdown society that we live under right now, the better the outcome will be, hopefully in a year from now, or shorter. If we're able to do that and eliminate, at least within our own province or within our own, country, we'll start getting back to that reality again. So.
Yeah, let's hope so. So in the meantime, though, you've got something for people to watch and experience and enjoy while we're in this lockdown, your great show. And I'm wondering where listeners can watch that. Can you tell us where can they find it?
Yeah, so if you literally have Amazon Prime, whether you're in Canada, the US, the UK, I believe it's almost everywhere in the world. I think there was one person in New Zealand that wanted to watch it recently, because we've been putting some ads out, pumping a lot of in terms of marketing. But most countries, I know definitely in North America, you can watch it anywhere in North America and in the UK right now. So just go to Amazon Prime Video. Do a search for Heroes Manufactured, Creators Unleashed. That's for the show. And if you want to check out the original movie, just check out Heroes Manufactured. And that's there's one that's got a red logo. That's the first movie, and the blue logo with our host Philip Moran, who's a great host for the show. He's going to be there, kind of with a little punch. Right next to the logo, a little image of him punching. It looks almost like giant size X-Men, where he's pumping. He's punching it out of a cover photo. So it's a really unique image there.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. That's the best way to check it out. And also we do have our Heroes Manufactured live show, which is now on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few shows there as well. We've got Joey P, who it's on our show, doing the Comics Vault, and we've got a number of great little shows that are a gaming show called Game Changers. So we're kind of trying to create a digital platform there for people to kind of enjoy what they're missing out in cons and do what we're doing now, right? So
yeah, lots to experience. And I heard through the grapevine that you might have an online store in the works. And I wonder if you could talk anything about that, or is it still under wraps?
yeah, no, so it's still we're going with it. It's taking forever to build properly, and just the bugs and fixes that we have to do are very much time constraining in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called Heroes Vault. So the website's going to be either heroes-vault.com, or it's going to be so that's going to be one name for sure, and then there is going to be a second name. It's going to be heroesvault.shop. So either one of those will allow you to get onto the site. It hasn't launched yet. Ideally, we'd like to have it launched for September, but right now we're just saying fall because we don't know an exact date yet. But what's unique about what we're going to do there is we're going to actually have some live events on our YouTube channel, but also on Facebook, where people can actually look up items with us. We're going to showcase certain items, both in the independent market, but also in like the Amazon market and Alibaba's. We're doing it through Shopify, but that will allow people to kind of look at what we're able to offer at discounted prices. There's going to be a member price as well. So anyone that's interested in coming on board and learning more, feel free to shoot me a message on Messenger on Facebook, or just check out heroesmanufactured.com, and you can always email me through the website there as well.
People can find out more about everything about Heroes Manufactured on your social media, any updates whatsoever, right?
The best thing is even through our main website. I mean, we're always updating. I mean, there's a few things that need some updating there now, but I mean, if you go onto our website heroesmanufactured.com, it does kind of take you to our main site for the movie, but also shows you where the website is for the show. So it links that when you click on the image of the new show, it'll actually take you to our Amazon Prime page. There's also, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a link to our YouTube channel. So there's kind of a way to get to everything, and we're going to make those announcements shortly with regards to the shop. We did make an announcement on our Facebook group for now, just for our own little group and members of that. But yeah, there's a Facebook group as well that has now, I believe, over 1,200, almost 1,300 members. So I mean, and that's going to be growing within the next year to 2 years that we're really starting to pump out with that. So feel free to join that as well if you know anyone, or if anyone out there wants to. There's by all means, it's a kind of a creators share group. So we love to see new artwork, new artists, new illustrators. Great way to just get in on the communities.
Thanks to Yaron for the chat. You can discover more about Yaron on Twitter at HeroesDocs, and you can learn about Heroes Manufactured on Twitter at HeroesMFG, and online at heroesmanufactured.com. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts, and please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at True North Comics. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2020.